Okay, so the basic tools that we need are the wooden tile frame, and you need something for the floor of the tile frame. You can keep a surface like this and have the tile be smooth. You can also stack more than one of them to change the thickness of the tile depending on how thick the wood pieces are. You can also use masonite boards, plaster, or 3D prints to maybe create texture on the bottom of your tile. Also linoleum, things that you can carve that can go inside the bottom of the tile mold. So we're gonna set the tile mold down, and for this first one, we'll make one of the textured tiles. And I'm just gonna pop this 3D print down inside of my tile mold. And because this is plastic, it's not porous, so the clay will suction cup really hard to it. So a lot of times I'll use just a tiny tissue layer, the thinnest piece of paper that you can find, and put it on any of the molds that are plastic or not porous. Something like the masonite is porous and the clay might detach from it, but we don't want to have to peel the tiles up. We don't want the tiles to curl at all. So what I have now is a piece of clay that's about the same size as the mold, a little bit thicker than I need. And I like to smooth out the surface. If there are any cracks or wrinkles or flaws on the surface of the clay, you might actually see that in the face of your tile. In the back, I'm not as concerned about. So I'm gonna press this down in the tile mold, and at first use my hands just to try and press it all the way out to all of the corners and to make sure that the clay is deep inside of the texture. So I'm gonna really focus on the corners of the mold because I want the tile to definitely be square. And try and compress it all the way around. And then I'm going to use a wooden stick to help me on the back. And use the clay, press it all the way around the tile. If there's a little bit extra, I might push the clay over. If a little bit of the paper comes up, it's no big deal because all that will burn off in the kiln. So you can fire paper if you have to. I'm just gonna press all that around there, peel off a little bit of this extra. Let's try and make that look nice on the back. So push, push, push. You can even turn it if you have to. So I used barely just enough clay to make this tile, but that's good because it's less amount of waste. So now I'm going to use this stick that has a nice clean edge to press against the wood to scrape the back. And you have to do a little bit at a time. So I'll come to one side and scrape, and come to another side and scrape. If you start all the way on the other side and pull across, you'll actually peel up the tile. And we don't want the tile to curl, because if it curls now when it's wet, it could curl in the kiln and not be totally flat. So here, there's not that much clay left. I can take off this last little bit. And then this clay can be reclaimed. It's all right if there's a few little paper fibers in there, it just burns out. You won't really see them. We don't want a lot of extra, but a little won't hurt. So now I have the tile. At this time, some people will put texture on the back, and this might help it set a little bit. When you put it in the tile grout, then this is like extra texture for the grout to hold on to. Some people could carve, or you could press in different ways. And then also you can make this a single decorative tile to hang by putting one mark in the back, let's say in the center and what we think is the top. If I press that point in and press it up, I now have a hole where I could hang a nail. So if I wanted a single tile, then I've just made the back possible. So this is a board that is about as thick as our tile mold, and that's going to help me press the tile out. So this is a piece of manufactured wood board. It could be anything really. I'm gonna center it on that tile, the blue plastic underneath, and then I can use that to help pop the tile out. And then here's my tile against the plastic. And I usually put my tiles on a board, a dry piece of drywall, because this is actually plaster, and so it won't stick as much. And now the tile pops right off. And some people pull the paper off if you want. You can throw that away. Or again, like I said, if you don't have too much cleanup to do, then it'll just burn off. All of these tiles, when they're dry, they need to be cleaned up on the back. That back edge will be really sharp. So when it's stiffer, we can turn it over and clean it up. So that's how you use a tile press without plaster. You have a square frame, a block to press the tile out, and any number of surfaces, either smooth or texture, that can make your tile. So I hope that was helpful. Okay, let's make just one more tile with the smooth surface. I'm gonna use both of my pieces of Masonite so that the tile's not so thick. This time you can see I've cut the tissue so it fits inside of the mold better, so there's not as much hanging over the edge. And this time I'll use some red clay. So let me just smooth out that surface, make sure there's no wrinkles or weird marks. Press the clay in there, and then using my hands at first, trying to press against the tile mold. Since it's flat, it's a little bit easier to make sure you get the clay all the way into the corners. Push that. Now I'm going to use my stick again. Use my stick to press the tile a little bit. And then scrape off the back. And one more time over here. Take a marker and make some lines in the back for the grout. Use my press. Pop the tile out, pull the board off. Got something flat to turn the tile onto, and then we'll have to clean up those edges when it's done. So you can see with that flat tile, that paper came off real easy. So if there's any marks or anything, we'll clean that up with our sponge.